Hey Saskia, so I was just looking at the designs that you sent over, and you could actually use ZBrush or Fusion to model these, and it kind of just comes down to which software appeals more to your kind of creative sensibility, I suppose. So this is the interface for ZBrush, and it's more of a like digital sculpting tool as opposed to a 3D modeling tool. If I was going to create this particular design, this is the process that I would use. I'm just going to show you. So I would append in a cylinder. I would get rid of my sphere. I would divide the cylinder a couple of times to make it a bit smoother. I would then use the scale to shrink it down a little bit. I would then duplicate that and create a cutting tool, so something like this. Yeah. Then I would create that shape using the live boolean feature and bring that shape in. Okay. And so this is our kind of base shape. I would then use Radial Symmetry to create the bits that stick out. So to do that, I'd go to Transform, Activate Symmetry, switch on Radio, make sure I'm on the correct axis. So at the moment it's on the wrong axis, so I think it should be on the Y-axis. Yeah. And then I want to have a few more points of Radial Symmetry, so 12. And let's just divide that to smooth it out a little bit. In fact, it's just, I can just see it's a little bit dodgy on the edges, so I'm just going to remesh that just to clean it up. It's just a little bit frayed on the edges, so this Z remesher will fix that. That's really nice. Okay. And then I've got my radial symmetry, and then in my brushes I would choose the insert brush, and I would go for insert primitive, and then I'd select a sphere, and then I would go anywhere on my object, and I would begin to, mesh is composed, okay, let's get rid of that. I begin to drag out a sphere, and then I would begin to manipulate that in order to make it look more like these fins. So let's just begin to manipulate these. Something, you know, you can kind of do it however you want, but I think something like that, maybe. Just then I'll split those off, splitting my unmasked shapes. I can get a better view here of what's going on. Make sure I'm in here. So yeah, you could very quickly begin to build up these kind of like radial shapes. I mean, you could spend way longer tweaking this to be a little bit more accurate to this design, but you know, you could just very quickly build up your shape. And the nice thing about ZBrush is you can be kind of loose with it, so you could then grab more spheres and you could begin to really iterate this design. So you could literally, why does it keep doing that? You could just begin to really put loads of these like spheres, for example, onto the design if you wanted. That's the nice thing about ZBrush, is it's quite like intuitive, like in the sense that you can just do whatever you like. You also have, if we just merge all of this together, aside from these kind of primitive shapes, you have more like brushes. So if we just merge all this together, you can also use more like brushes. So say like move brush, you could do more like organic shapes using that. You've also got like a smooth tool, so you could begin to like smooth these together. It's just basically a bit more like organic if you wanted to do more like organic designs. Although obviously you would want to think about the fact that you're going to 3D print these, so you maybe wouldn't want to have too many overhangs. But what I'm trying to get at is that this is kind of more sculptural than most 3D modeling softwares. You've got all sorts of different brushes that you could use. The flatten brush, for example. Actually, no, a brush that might be quite good is the pinch brush. You know, you could use that to get more like straight lines, for example. So yeah, so ZBrush is basically like very, very sculptural, organic, a bit more like working with real clay, quite free. The downside is, you know, if you want to work really accurately, it's more like you're going by eye. So that's if you wanted to use ZBrush. If you wanted something, or if you wanted to use Fusion360, which is this software, it's far more similar to kind of traditional 3D modeling software. So to create a similar sort of shape, you maybe would do something like this. And I'm just zooming through these just to show you the difference in workflow. And then maybe you'll have an idea of which one you prefer. So with Fusion, you can work far more accurately. So you were saying these would be a couple of centimeters big. So I'm going to work a little bit more accurately with this one. So I'm going to say this is 10 millimeters. And then I'm going to offset. So if you want accuracy, Fusion might be a little bit more up your alley. So let's say something like this. And so I've created an outline, and now I'm extruding volume using that outline. Maybe something like this. Edit that. Fusion's pretty good if you have like a very specific idea of what you wanna, like exactly what you wanna model. So something like this. I've got a very good reference image, so it's quite straightforward. It's maybe a little bit less like just playful in terms of, you know, just going for like kind of random form. This is maybe like a little bit more like specific. I can then pattern that thing. So something like this. And again, kind of got our bead shape. There's some nice modifiers in this. So for example, filleting means that you can touch like a shape and add a curve to the edge, which is quite nice. That might be a little bit too much. Yeah, you could begin to like soften this shape a little bit using fillets, for example. You know, this will give you a much more accurate like measurements and stuff. But it's a very different style of modeling. You know, I can see that this is slightly curved, like angled. Let's see. I don't know. You'd have to, sorry, I should have drawn that at a bit more of an angle in order to get this kind of curve, but it would be relatively straightforward to do that. So again, you could create your beads in here. It's kind of up to you. They're just very, very different workflows. This is more like sculptural. Fusion's more like exact. You could make these actually way more exact. So like, let's say, yeah, we'll kind of update it. You could add a lot more shapes to this, so you could do something similar with like the spheres, but it's like maybe slightly less organic than this. Either of these would be fine for exporting as a 3D file for printing. You could actually make this as well look a little bit more interesting by just doing a few more fillets, like playing around with it a bit more. Ooh. Oh, sorry, I'm kind of rushing this, which isn't great. But yeah, let me know which of the softwares appeals to you more, and then I can give you more specific guidance on how to model the design. But yeah, let me know if you think Fusion seems more like what you want to use, or ZBrush.